everyone, welcome back to another video. Now, you might think it's rather strange me sat on my living room floor with my bike, but I thought I'd run through my initial thoughts of this bike and almost like an initial review of this Argon. I've had it now for just over a week, so not too long at all, but I've managed to get out on the bike occasionally when the sun and the weather has let me, and I've also managed to ride it on the turbo as well. So I've got a little bit of interaction with the bike, a little bit of understanding how the bike works, how it rides out on the road and on the turbo, and I thought I'd give you those initial interactions and that initial review, and then actually after the season or later on in the season, once I've raced on it, once I've trained a lot more on it, I can give you a further in-depth review of this bike. Now, if you have this bike, you might be interested in this video. If you're looking to get an Argon, you might be interested in this video. If you just like a little bit of bike porn, you might be interested in this video. Fingers crossed all of you are interested in this video. I'll be comparing this bike within this video to the Giant Trinity purely because I had that bike for 6 years. So I know that bike in and out, and I rode it, you know, training, racing, all weather conditions. I know exactly what it was like, and so it makes sense for me to compare this to that Giant Trinity. Now, of course, there are some differences, some big differences. One of the main things is the price difference. You know, Giant Trinity, you can pick up a full bike for, I would say, 3.5 grand, can't you? People might, if I'm wrong, correct me in the comment section below. Whereas this bike, just the frame alone, is nearly 5 grand. It's like 4.5, 5 grand. So there is a big price difference there. However, that's what I'll be doing in this video, sort of comparing them and talking to you and relating the ride that I've found on this to that Giant Trinity that I've been so used to for the last 6 years. What I've found really amazing is the position's great, the adjustability is great, the geometry is great, and I don't know how Argon have actually done this, but the thing sort of climbs and descends similar to a road bike, and this is something that I've never experienced before on a TT bike. Normally on a TT bike, because of your body position, your weight is really far over the front, and because of the sort of geometry of the TT bikes, climbing and descending is normally not very good fun. It's just, it feels weird, doesn't feel natural. But on this thing, and like I said, I have no idea how they've done it. Something to do with the geometry and the balance of it and the weight distribution. But it honestly, it climbs and descends nearly pretty much as well as a road bike, I think, which is astonishing for a TT bike. I've never experienced anything like that. I think the weight distribution of this bike is fantastic. I think the top tube is quite a bit shorter than the Trinity, and so I think the wheelbase is a bit shorter and it's a bit more compact, and I feel like the weight distribution is far more central. And that makes it for a far more pleasant and controllable ride. Now, one of the things that I was so excited about, and this sounds ridiculous, for me to get a whole new bike, or well, a new frame. I transferred everything else from the Trinity over to this, so I got the new frame. But for me to get a brand new frame and to be most excited about grippy handlebars it sounds ridiculous. But honestly, this is a complete game changer. I can't stress you how good this is for climbing, descending, and just comfort in general riding on the hoods. It's absolutely fantastic. You've got a section there which kind of stops your hands from slipping forward. So when you're descending or you're on some rough roads, you know you've got the confidence there. Also, the handlebar section of the grip is a lot longer than something like on the Trinity, whereas I always felt like my hands were kind of just completely oversized for the grips, and actually I felt like I was going to slip off the whole time, whereas I don't get that on this. It's amazing. So from that point of view, I mean, just incredible kind of design feature there. And I know there's a few other bikes that have this, like the Cervelo P5, and I'm sure a lot of other modern TT bikes have this. There's just the grippy handle just makes so much sense, and it's a fantastic design feature. Now, you may note from the Giant Trinity review, One of my biggest gripes with the Giant Trinity, and there were quite a few to be honest with you, one of the biggest gripes that I had, and that I feel most people have with the Giant Trinity, is the front bottle. And this is the front bottle that slides onto the frame, clips on, and you can have a refillable little tab at the top where you can go through an aid station and fill it up. And I honestly found it to be pretty much useless. I went through a few of them. They kept breaking, leaking. The connectors just weren't good enough. The whole design thought wasn't really there. It was too heavy. It was too much fluid there. Made the bike really front heavy, which didn't control very well. There was just so many reasons as to why that was a bad design. And what I love about this bike is that Argon haven't tried to be clever. They haven't gone, oh, let's try and think of a really cool front, bottle design. They've just gone, we're going to give you a section where you can put a bottle cage and you can put a normal bottle in. That's end of. It just makes so much sense. Sometimes when there's a problem, the solution doesn't have to be complicated, and actually more often than not, the more simple solution, the better. And I think that makes so much sense. And for anyone out there who has, I know a couple of bikes have like a bladder in the frame. Let me know what that's like actually, because I've never experienced that. So I know the new Canyon does. Specialized, they used to. I don't know if they do anymore. But anyway, I think the bottles on the front, look, it's a cool idea, but I don't really think it works, especially on the Giant Trinity. I don't know about any other bikes. I know the old Canyon used to have one, so if you have the old Canyon Speed Max, let me know what the front bottle's like in the comment section below. And I believe also the Cube, if you've got the Cube TT bike, let me know what that front bottle's like in the comment section below. From my experience with the Trinity, and I can't comment on any other bikes, it just didn't work. And so what I love is that they've just given you a section, and it's a really smart section, a cool little tab just to put your bottle cage in, and you can have it in two different sections, a little bit further up, a little bit further behind, and it makes so much sense purely because, well, you don't end up having this big bit of plastic in front of you that wobbles about, scratches the frame, ends up leaking everywhere. I mean, it just makes a mess. But also, when you're racing and you're going through an aid station, you grab a bottle. On this bike, all I have to do is grab a bottle and put it in between my bars, and I can get back into the position. Whereas if you've got a refillable bottle on the front, what you have to do is grab a bottle and then spend however much time it takes to empty the bottle into that front bottle section in time for you to dispose of that bottle so you don't get penalised for littering. So it just makes so much sense, and I just love the fact that Argon have made it simple, and I think that's what it's all about, is the user experience. And actually, like I said, the more simple solutions are normally the better ones, and that's a great idea. Another thing that I'm really fond of, and I think there are quite a few bike companies out there that are doing this at the minute with their more modern bikes, is using the dead space in the frame. Instead of strapping stuff onto the frame, you've got these tubes that are hollow. Why not use the space within the frame? Why not use that instead of strapping stuff onto the frame? And this is what Argon have done, which is really clever. They've got this little top tube section for your storage, for your bars, your gels, whatever you want to take with you, which a lot of TT bikes have. However, what they've also done is dug out into the top tube to give you more space. And that's a fantastic way of using the dead space within the frame. So it's really clever, and it just gives you that extra ability to take more calories on when you're training, when you're racing. Just a really good, clean looking bike. Now, what I absolutely love is this hidden sort of garage section. So moving on from the top tube, which goes down into the dead space of the frame, you've also got this garage section near the bottom bracket, which is such a clever idea. I absolutely love it. So that's where I'll be charging the bike, because that's where the brains section of the Di2 is. But also you get this really neat little pouch that you can store up into the frame, get it out of the wind, get it out of the way, and it's got a really nice clip just to secure that. But within that pouch, you've got all your tools, inner tube, everything. You could even store a couple of snacks up there. You could store anything else you want up there. Now, I don't know other people's opinions out there on disc brakes with TT bikes. On road bikes, it's very, very common now to see disc brakes pretty much everywhere. Whereas on TT bikes, I'm sure there's still some die-hard rim brake fans out there. Well, I can safely say, and I've ridden rim brake on the Trinity, which those brakes, without slagging them off too much, were completely useless. Let's just leave it there. The disc brakes on this bike are incredible, and I would actually argue they're almost better, I think, than the Cervelo Caledonia that I have. And the rotors on the Cervelo Caledonia 160s, and these are only 140s, but I just feel this just stops so quickly, and the braking is so smooth, it gives you so much confidence. And I think disc brakes on a TT bike is one of those things you don't need it until you really need it. So it's nice to have it just in case. Now, obviously, if you're doing a flat course, let's say Ironman Florida, I think that's a flat one, Texas, whatever, you don't need, obviously, disc brakes. But if you're going to be racing in the Alps, or let's say Ironman Wales, or anywhere that's going to be hilly and potentially slippery and wet and dangerous, this is where this will come into its own. And I've already experienced it with riding over Devon towards Exmoor the other day. It was just incredible, such good handling with like the geometry that I mentioned earlier, that included with the disc brakes and the confidence that you get from that. It's just, it's peace of mind. Like I said, Argon are just providing peace of mind, and it's just gives you the ability to enjoy the ride so much more. And also what they've really cleverly done on this bike is build the disc brake kind of body into the frame, into the fork. And I think that's really clever because it means that there's no aero disadvantage now. There's not a bulky section on the side of the fork, on the side of the seat stays. It's actually within the frame, which is so clever. And then also to add to that, to cool down the rotors when you're going to be braking a lot, they've got sections where it directs the wind flow to cool down the rotors. Now that kind of almost sounds like F1 technology. It's very clever and such a good idea. So you know that when if you're descending a lot, let's say you're in the Alps, or let's say you're over in Mallorca or something where they've got some decent descents, you know you're not going to get any brake fading. You know your rotors are going to stay cool-ish. They're still going to get warm if you're braking a lot, but they're going to stay a lot cooler other than if they didn't have that airflow, which I think is such a cool idea. And again, coming back to that peace of mind, Argon are just providing that peace of mind knowing that you don't have to worry about it. I think it's fantastic. I think adjustability on this bike as well is nearly second to none. Now, I don't have too much experience with other TT bikes other than the Giant Trinity, and I do have to say adjusting things on here is very easy. Since seeing Andy at VW Cycling and picking up this bike, I've actually taken off the whole front end, I've changed a few things around, I've lowered the stack a little bit, I've put everything back together, and it's so simple. Even I can do it, and if I can do it, anyone can bloody do it out there, because I am a muppet. So it's just amazing. You need literally a set of Allen keys and you can play around all day, and everything's just put together in such a neat and straightforward way that, like I said, even a muppet like me can do it, which is amazing, because in the past I've been so scared to take bikes apart because I don't know how the hell they're going to go back together. Whereas with this, it's just so simple. It just makes so much sense. There is, however, one thing that confuses me about this bike, and it's this little equation on the frame here. I have no idea what this means. I think it looks pretty cool, but I have no idea what it means. So if anyone does know what it means, drop a comment in the comment section below. I almost felt when I was riding the Trinity, it's a good bike. It's a fast bike, but it didn't have that premium feel to it, I don't think. And you might argue that it does, and I just personally, I didn't feel like it had that. Whereas this feels premium, it feels really good quality, it feels just everything's been thought of so well. And the user experience has been quite clearly at the forefront of Argon's design, which is just so good. And it's so nice to experience. It's almost like a breath of fresh air. That a lot of these design features on here are so simple, but like I said, some of the most simple solutions are the best, and I think they've They've knocked this one out the park. They really have. If you've got this bike, comment in the comment section below what you think of it. If you've had it for a longer period than I have, then let me know your long-term thoughts. If you are looking to get this bike, I would say don't look any further and just get it, because honestly, it's just an absolute pleasure. It really is. My knees are starting to ache, which tells me I've been sat here for a little bit too long, which means I need to get up and I need to crack on. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed that video. I honestly am still just absolutely amazed by this bit of kit. Argon, if you're watching this, you've absolutely smashed it. I think it's fantastic, and I can't wait to experience this bike in races later on this season. Next few videos are going to be really exciting, so keep your eyes peeled for those, and please don't forget to subscribe just down below, like this video, comment, share it with all your friends. Let's get this channel moving again towards the season, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, my knees! Oh, wow. Oh, my knees.